Mm. Okay, I believe I was able to get everything. Let me share my screen. Which is this one. Everybody can see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I had only just one agenda item. So do we have anything else we want to add, or I have just an annual review that Emily fingers that we need to do. Something that we have started, but we need to finish that thing. There is one more thing, but I don't know whether that is supposed to be discussed in this forum. That's the security issue. Actually, it's how it is called. Sorry, I'm looking for the right word.
Advisory.
Sorry.
Yeah.
This we should discuss this privately, right?
Yeah, but do we discuss this in the same call? Unless until we have a solution out of how do we agree on that, probably it shouldn't be discussed in public.
Right.
Until we have a kind of official solution, I don't think that we can discuss that in public. Maybe so if we want, I would prefer to have Shiwei, and they are out. So we need to have, I think Shiwei, he worked on many of those different security issues. So my preference will be to wait for him. But Sajay, Samir, Pritesh, any thoughts around that?
No, I guess the maintainer should discuss this separately.
Yeah. Is this like when does China KubeCon ends? It's the last day.
It ended last week, but there is holidays in China, so
She will be back on Friday.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, anything else around this, or should we discuss the annual review, or any other topics that you folks want to add?
Nothing from my side.
I have a few more things maybe that I can add as a topic for conversation today, which are more kind of a community generic topics, but I also had a question. So we were planning release in November, right? That was my last recollection for the release. Are there any blockers for that, or Pritesh, do you have any? My understanding, the biggest feature for the release in November was the signing arbitrary blobs, right?
Yeah, we are running a bit late on that. I mean, I will try to collect the data on this. We can look for resourcing and discuss with my manager on the resourcing side for this.
And is there any? One thing we can do is arbitrary. We can take a look at eventually what is planned as part of the release. Import. Oh, that's the one release.
Oh, there are a lot of items.
Yes. But,
yeah, for arbitrary signing, I have to complete this practice. I had first draft out, which we discussed last week. I didn't got time to work on this week, so probably next meeting we will discuss and find like probably almost agree on this spec, and then there's implementation. But I still need to worry about, like, I need to figure out the resourcing for this. We'll work on it from our side. So yeah.
so that's for 10.9.
Yep, I should have that by
Okay.
10, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, looking at this list, actually, it's pretty big list. We have like 30 items, more than 30, 35 items that are scheduled. So maybe it's good if we can take a look at the list and see whether that all these items are still
I think there are a couple of items which I just saw that like, shouldn't be part of 1.1.
Which one you mean?
For example, writing tests for OCSP and C other than didn't discuss that should be part of 1.1. Also, there are a couple of them.
Yeah, maybe it's a good thing to actually go and get the priority on these items. I don't think we have the capacity to do all these 35 things. Sachi, what do you think? Sachi, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm struggling to unmute.
Some of those items seems to be actually governance items. So looking at some in the GitHub, we have some readmes, but there are not too many of those. So we have a lot of kind of development items that they are mainly in to do. state.
Yeah, they're not been added to any milestone or anything like that. You want to triage these, right? That's what you're trying to say?
No, they are added to 110. That is what I'm concerned about. So we have 35 items that are added to 110.
Yeah, and they're no assignees for that also.
Yeah. Some of them have assignees, actually, but not everyone has assignee, and only like one seems to be in progress, and those are the governance items that are in PR review for a while already that we need to go and close on.
So one action I can take is basically I'm being Shuai's liaison here. So one thing that we can do is, I think there's some items assigned to Pritesh. If he wants to kind of like take a stab at whether it's feasible, we can do that by next week. And I'll ask Shuai to talk to his team, which is, so there'll be Patrick and folks who can see if they have an option to pick up more or drop it, or at least confirm that we cannot do this. Yeah, I mean, bugs, I think we should be able to at least assign it and figure it out. The governance ones are a little harder. Maybe have Yi pick up a few as well.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll at least have Monday morning before they come for this meeting. They can try it.
Okay. So let's work those out, get a good status. It will be good if we have priorities on those. I do not see a field for priority. So all the priorities are kind of, there are only 3 priority 0. But everything else is without priority. So if we can add priority at least on the items, that would be helpful. So we know what can be dropped and moved out. Okay. So anything else?
You will
Go ahead.
need Ian Feynman for this, because I don't even remember enrolling for those issues that yeah, so I think Ian Feynman are the one who added those. So it'd be good if we have them when we discuss this.
All right. Okay. Those are the blockers. The security, we will actually have the conversation in the private Slack channel. If needed, we can schedule time actually to discuss that among maintainers. The last thing I had was really the annual review. So I will actually, I believe that what we said is we will target 10 to submit the PR. That's what I believe Feynman and E are targeting. I chatted with them last week. So they had prepared some documentation, which I believe is over here. Actually, no, that's the HackMD. I think they had some documentation which I'm kind of not have the link, but they had prepared documentation. We need to add additional information about the releases, the security report that we had, or the security audit. And we also, I believe we have several customers actually using an open source projects that are using, I don't know whether they have added that to the documentation. So the goal is to have this information submitted by 10/10. Pritesh, Samir, do you guys have any additional information that we can add?
So this is new to me. I don't remember. Maybe last time somebody else worked on this. What do we need to do for this?
So for this, there is actually, so here is the background on this is every graduated project needs to do annual review due to the kind of all the kerfuffle that happened with Notary project branding and so on. We were asked actually to do kind of submit information, which normally you need to submit as part of the annual review about the progress of the project over the last year. So that is what we are required to do. In general, as a kind of incubation project, this is not a requirement, but due to the issue that was filed, like this one, we were asked at the beginning of the year to do this and prepare all this information. And what we need to include is described in the issue.
Yeah, I looked through all of the comments here. I think your answers and my answers will likely match on this. We need to just collect data on the adoption. How do we measure adoption? Because that seems to be data which we need to collect.
Yeah, that's a good question. And in general, like we can, because we cannot actually track who is downloading and who is using that. The only way to kind of collect adoption is if you know if somebody is using it, right? And I believe if we go to our website, right, we get some of those. I think Container D also uses it. We have Harbor that we added, so they also actually added some implementation around Notary project signatures. I don't remember who else from the open source project also, but the idea is to actually list those companies on and open source projects that are also using Notary project tooling or Notary project signatures and so on. But yes, there is no good way to track adoption.
Okay. Hey, while you're on this page, can you talk about the last bullet here, the last Docker Hub supports?
I cannot.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know
Okay.
how that ended up. That's maybe a question for Feynman.
Okay.
Let me add this to the notes.
Maybe I missed some update there. Yeah. No, I think based on the things you were saying about the, I think if either one of us crafts the response, and it seems like you did it last year as well, our responses have definitely be better. We have released multiple things this year, including the GA release. Stats, can we use the forks, the number of forks? Is that something that people think of as adoption? How many forks we have done?
It is up to us to maybe decide how do we measure that. So we can go and write somewhere that actually we would like to measure the adoption of our project by this and this and this criteria.
Got it. Yeah, I think I would like to then keep it broad. If we are defining the criteria, then it will be the number of visitors to our website or our GitHub page. If we can track it somehow, because we are early in the project awareness generation phase. So I think our number of forks may be limited, but at this point, if we see a large fraction of or increase in people come visiting any of our assets, whether it's the Notary project or .dev website or our release download page, I think we should track that as adoption numbers. So to me, it will be unique or number of visitors to notaryproject.dev, number of visitors to our release download page will be two things to look at. Because like all projects, like you're in the early adopter phase, you're in the crossing the chasm phase. So I think we are definitely the early adopter crossing the chasm phase at the moment.
Yeah, so let's think about that. So I had one more topic that I wanted to add to today's discussion is kind of really growing the community, which kind of what you're talking about, Samir, is tying into that.
Yeah.
Like I've discussed that with Feynman and E in the past on several occasions. We discussed things like, for example, doing some retrospectives every 3 months or 6 months. Also looking at the maintainers or contributors, how many new contributors we have, whether some of those new contributors needs to become a maintainer, whether some of the maintainers actually who are non-participating maintainers needs to move to emeritus and so on and so on. This is something that we do not do regularly. And I was asking them to introduce this practice to kind of really look at these numbers on a regular basis, and we kind of do a retrospective and then say, okay, how do we grow this project? How do we grow the community? So that's from one side. From another side is also looking at more strategically what the project can be. Like not only like, okay, next release is in November and we know that we would like to have this and these capabilities there, but more like what do we invest in longer term? Those are kind of two things that I think we should be more diligent doing. And I wanted to kind of hear the feedback of people on the call, what they think about that.
I'll go first. I think it makes sense. But it would be good if somebody can post some questions before we do the retro, like in the sense that what to think about as we come for the retro.
So should we make it at something like, let's say, first, maybe my first question is, how often do we need to do that? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it annually?
I think after any major release is the right way to think about it, because we'll have some activity going into the release. It will help us be more fresh. So I think as part of the release process, we do a release and we do a retro a week later. I will propose we do our next retro after 1.1 release, a week after 1.1 release. And we anyways have said we like to release more often, or at least at a quarter cadence, so that will take care of it. That's my thought. Anybody else?
I think the post every major release, twice a year at least may be good to keep the project in check in some way.
You mean at least twice a year? Or twice a year? Because if we take like after every major release and we have quarterly releases, this is 4 times a year, essentially.
Yeah, no, I don't think every major release, I mean, a retrospective might be good if people have time, but there's a minimum criteria that the project is on track and there's nothing glaring that we should kind of look back on. Just from a health perspective, I think twice a year minimum is probably a good thing.
Okay, then we should try to do at least like twice a year. If we can do after every major release. That's what I kind of hear you saying.
Yep.
And okay, so I can actually go and work on a proposal for that, like. And just to kind of formalize it a little bit, what about looking at the long-term investments for the projects? Should those be also part of the retrospectives, or should we? Just to tell you where I'm coming from, so I see us like kind of looking at the next release, but and I think actually Milind and I had a conversation as part of when we were kind of, I don't remember, we had some of those podcasts that we were doing, and before and after that we were kind of chatting of, okay, what, like, we have the release right now 1.0.0, we did a big release, but kind of what is next, which areas should we invest in? Is it just signing? Are there other things that we need to actually provide us capabilities? And it doesn't seem that we have kind of good idea of what strategically what we want to do. And in all these meetings that we have on Mondays, we look kind of more of the, okay, the bugs, the kind of feature here, feature there, but nothing which is, let's say, year or 2 years out. That's where kind of I am coming from. Should we dedicate kind of like as part of the retrospectives, eventually looking at longer term, or should we have another like twice a year at least defining some longer term strategy, and we can keep that as part of the vision for the project?
I think you can repurpose one of the Thursday meetings or something like that, right? But most of these things require somebody to have written something up or at least come down before we come for the meeting. So if there is a proposal or if there is some material that folks can go with, then it becomes easier. I would also kind of like urge Pritesh, Samir, if you folks have any items, this would be like, we should probably do this during some point in time to see if how you want to see the next level of next thing about this kind of like invested into. It does make sense. Basically, are there things that you would like to see implemented? Yeah. More like a wish list, and then we can figure out that that's the area we want to pursue or not together.
Makes sense, yeah. I can create issues for them, and then probably the way would be that we could create issues for them, and then we can discuss.
Okay, yeah, maybe kind of a big buckets of things. Okay, so we kind of perfected signing, right? What is the next thing that we wanna do, or how we can leverage signing for some other things, whatever those are. Okay. Okay, let me, so I put those notes, so I'll get on some proposal for the retros, and about this thing, like eventually, yeah, Samir and Pritesh, if you can put. Samir, what is your username? I cannot find you.
Let me chat it.
I am
I'm Samir. I am
yeah.
SAMIR ZON zone.
Isn't it like this?
It's this plus in the end is ZON in the end. I am Samir ZON. Oh, like Amazon.
This is HackMD. I think this is HackMD. I'm not sure whether something
Yeah.
is the same for HackMD.
Oh,
This
I
is,
did.
this is different from GitHub.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you can maybe start an issue kind of strategic and everybody can add to that, that will be good. Anything else, folks, on your mind or? If not, I can give you the remaining 25 minutes back.
Thanks, Notary. It's going to be a slow week. Many people are over today.
Yeah. But yeah, eventually we can make some progress, at least on the governance items and those high-level stuff until we have engineers to write code. So if you folks take a look at, especially if we can wrap up those government items before we submit the annual report, that will be good. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice evening, I guess.
Thank you.
See you, folks.